The following program is suitable for general audience of any age. We would like to remind our viewers that the views expressed in this program by our participating guests are solely viewpoints of them who take part and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Gen XYZ. We are at a landmark episode, the 200th episode of this show at Gen XYZ. We are in conversation with a bunch of Colombo University students from different faculties at the very college house of the University of Colombo, which is considered to be one of the oldest buildings when it comes to educational institutions. So definitely stay tuned to watch. We are joining right into the conversation. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Gen XYZ on Other Derana News channel. We are currently here at the College House, University of Colombo, which is considered to be one of the oldest buildings actually here. And we're joined with a couple of university students from different faculties. We have people from the law faculty, the management, the science and the arts as well, medicine as well. And we actually want to dive a bit into how university students, or the youth rather, are facing the problems that current day youth are actually facing in Sri Lanka. And I would like to first direct my question to Anna. And my first question is, hope you're doing fine, by the way. And great to have you all on the show, actually. But my first question is on how, given the current status quo in Sri Lanka, as I mentioned, what are some issues that maybe you or your peers in university or maybe your friends outside of university are facing right now? I mean, we're in the middle of an economic crisis, there's a political crisis. What are some issues that the youth are currently facing right now?
I think especially coming from a state university where you depend on state funds, one thing is that it's a great opportunity for people who may not have the financial resources themselves to gain a tertiary education of such a quality. But naturally, that also means that a lot of people and people that I've been exposed to in my own batch also have economic hardships that make it hard for them to pursue education. So while the actual degree is free and they can have a 4-year degree at law, which is something that you might not get in other countries, it's still difficult for them to find facilities for transport, accommodation, and that's something that really takes a toll on you. I think to think about that and also manage that with your studies. And I personally know people who have to work part-time, not because they necessarily want to, but because it's a sad reality that they need to manage that responsibility as well, on top of the natural issues that any student would face, which is academic pressures, pressures from parents, the desire to have a job that pays them well. And I think these are concerns that all of us face, but I think it's particularly hard if you have to worry about economic constraints and ensuring that you are getting the best out of your university education while still being concerned about these other factors.
Yes, and I think you actually covered a lot of the topics that I actually want to get into, which leads me to my next question. Actually, I would like Menuka to answer that. Menuka, if you can give a bit of an introduction as to who you are and what faculty you come from and what you do before you answer the question. But my question to you is, now, like Anna herself mentioned, a lot of the youth, right? We're doing a lot of things, maybe extracurriculars within university, maybe part-time jobs, and like Anna said, sometimes not because we want to, but because we have to. Sometimes different degrees. It's a lot of work. How do you see the youth actually currently handle this kind of pressure? The fact that there's so much happening right now. How do you see people handle?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, starting off with a small introduction. So, I'm Menuka Vijay Singh, a fourth year student from the Faculty of Arts, majoring in International Relations. So, to answer your question, I would say personally, I am a person like that. To be honest, I am pursuing my bachelor's in international relations. At the same time, I'm doing law at the Sri Lanka Law College. So similarly, I'm also engaged in part-time tutoring and whatnot. I feel like the reason is that we are continuously trying to like find the better version of us. Like there's this intense competition taking place in the world. Like it's not about the competition that is within the country, but like in the world. So we are striving so hard to get noticed in this competition and to like at the same time trying to like find the best version of you. So I feel like the main reason is the biggest competition, of course, at the end of the day, and also then at the same time personally I'm still trying to figure myself out. We are of course youth. We're still trying to figure out the best path for us and the future, like trying to navigate it properly. So I feel like that's why we are kind of forced to pursue different degrees and also to try out multiple jobs and opportunities out there.
So would you suggest people do more things then, especially the youth? Would you actively push for it?
In my perspective, I would say just try it out.
And
So,
see,
yeah.
right, because it takes you great places.
Yes.
I want to direct my next question to Siluni, actually, if we could pass on the mic. And my question is now, you also work part-time, right? And how do you sort of, Siluni, right? Right. And how can we pick the right degree? Now, there's a lot of, a lot of people have a lot of goals when they finish their A levels, right? Oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this, I want to be that. But sometimes halfway into the degree, we realize, okay, maybe the job market isn't really catering towards, like maybe being a doctor isn't like the most financially sustainable thing, or maybe being a lawyer isn't the most, you know, there are certain questions that come up when it comes to the job market. How do you know what degree you should personally, I mean, obviously, maybe you can't 100% tell, but is there a certain metric that maybe you use to discover what you want to do in life?
Yeah,
And maybe a bit of an introduction before you
yeah, so I'm Sri Lanka and I'm a fourth year medical student from University of Colombo. So for your question, I think when it comes to my journey, I have always been keen to work with people and maybe with the problem solving and all those critical thinking part. So I think I enjoyed being in charge and helping people out. So I think that's what paved me into this medical career. But as a like a holistic approach to your question, I feel like when you're choosing what you want to do, I feel like it's more sort of a thing that's related, like it's an individual thing. You have to figure out yourself, or along the course of figuring out yourself, and do what you like and love to do, and also check whether it's compatible with the current trends and whatnot. When it comes to medicine, actually, most of the people, most of the medical students, I feel like they think this medicine is something clinical based only. But actually, there are a lot of innovative ways and new fields opened up. And even in Sri Lanka, there's genetics and there's research that you can move on to if you don't like the clinical setup in the meantime, right? So I think the world is expanding and there are a lot of opportunities. So I think when you start to pursue something, you can always figure out and pave your path into what you like.
Yeah, and so would you, now there's obvious, you mentioned you have to pick something that you like, but obviously sometimes what you love and what pays the bills clash, right? When that happens, as the youth, people just getting into the job market, their first jobs itself, do you think then they should give up what they love until they get stable, or what is your approach?
Yeah, so in my perspective, since medicine is like it's a time consuming, and I don't think there's much time as a medical student to do other activities. But I feel even with this busy life and this hectic schedule, you should also find time to enjoy yourself with what you did. And that will actually help you out in balancing the pressure and all. So I'm not saying not do something you would not love, but definitely when you make a choice, you have to go along with and then pave your path. As I said, if someone is started doing medicine and they don't feel like interacting with people is not my thing, there's always another way to go in. That's in my field, and I'm pretty sure it's certainly verbal in the other fields as well.
Right. Thank you so much for that answer. Now moving on to Sasanka, I want to talk about now, since now there's academic pressure also, and academic pressure is something that as students we've all faced, not only in school but now in university as well, right? And it can be absolutely cruel. How do you deal with it? Because now not only people who go to university, but a lot of people just do foundations, just other external degrees. How can the youth handle this academic pressure? How can they maybe deal with it or cope with it?
Okay, so
And again, just an introduction before we start.
yeah, sure. So I'm Sandhini Sasanka and I'm from the arts faculty, fourth year undergraduate. And currently I'm a ground hostess and Sri Lankan Airlines. So talking about that question, according to my experience, I was doing loads of extracurriculars during my university life. I was drawing for the whole 4 years, and I was the vice captain for the last season. And there were so much pressure with the academic and all the things. And what I find there was it getting ready for you to see the good side of yourself. So it's making you more than you know about yourself. So it's basically what I tell you all is just try it out and see how the things work for you. And it is better to learn something from that as well. The thing is, more extracurriculars, more academic pressures lead into some issues regarding families and all the things. But if you deal with it very purely and very fluently, it's teach you how to do the time management things and do a lot of works and how to deal with your life basically.
But
So-
sometimes it's more than just a time management issue, right? Sometimes it takes a mental toll on you, and especially when you have assignments and deadlines are close and you haven't started even. And how do you, when you are going through a tough time mentally, how maybe have you gotten out of it? How have your friends gotten out of it?
Yeah, luckily I have good friends. But in that case, if you're dealing with like mentally breakdown timings, I would suggest just take a step down. There's no rush. You can slowly go ahead your path. Just take a step down and think what you really want to do, what you're really passionate about, and just go with the flow. Yeah.
Thank you. And my next question is towards Janit, actually. And now, since Sasanka touched upon the whole pressure from family, it's a very real experience. And I know some of our parents are watching this, so no one wants to actively go out and, say, oh, my parents are pressurizing. But I think, but I'm sure we have seen our friends who have very, maybe strict parents, maybe traditional and conservative parents, who want them to maybe pursue certain degrees, who are not happy with the degrees they're pursuing, or maybe if the child wants to do something else other than the degree they're currently pursuing. How have you seen maybe yourself, or how have you seen your friends deal with it? What are the issues that they face and how have they overcome it?
Yeah. So firstly, I'm Janit Munasinghe from the Faculty of Management and Finance. I'm a third year undergraduate and I'm currently specializing in international business. So to answer your question, personally, my family has been really supportive and they've always been okay with whatever I do. And they've supported me in any scenario or any circumstance. But I know family pressure is a big thing. And obviously, we balance academics, we balance extracurriculars with it. And again, there's a lot of pressure. But one of the main things as students that we have to develop is patience. And if we have patience, if we understand what they're saying, if we just listen to them and answer their question properly without making an argument, I'm sure they'll also be understanding and they'll understand where we are coming from as well. But again, family is everything. And I think listening to all they have to say, listening to their opinions and everything is important as well. And I think they also will understand the fact that we want to do what we love and they'll support us in any given scenario.
Okay, and but like, what if there are? I mean, there are instances when a lot of mental health issues have come across because of pressure from parents, right? I mean, there are children nowadays who go for like 10 classes during grade 5 scholarship. So it's a very real thing that parents are pressurizing their children. And especially when we're young and when we're under their house, there's this whole thing, my house, my rules. So in an instance like that, where the ideas are obviously clashing, maybe you've heard them out, but they're not listening, what can you do then?
So then I think it's about listening again, like listening to what they have to say and also giving your opinion also. Like, just because your parents are saying this doesn't mean you have to always abide by it and do exactly what they say. But give your opinion, take their opinion as well. And then you can come to a conclusion and make it seem like, do the right thing in a scenario like that.
And now, obviously, what we all explained, this is not the ideal situation as well, right? I mean, we can follow our passions at the same time. Sometimes we have to give up, sacrifice a lot of things. Sometimes we have to leave our families and go do what we love, so that sometimes after we do what we love, our parents are finally accepting, and then because when we finally succeed, they finally see it. But for the people, we have a lot more to talk about, actually, about other issues that the youth is currently facing. But we have to head into a short commercial break. We'll be right back on Gen XYZ. You're watching it on Other Derana News Channel. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Gen XYZ on Other Derana News Channel. We're once again here at College House of the University of Colombo, joined with university students, people who have been a part of not only just the traditional university life, but have also done extracurriculars, who've lived, who are actually doing multiple degrees, some of them jobs even, and who can give us a real perspective on the burning questions of how the youth can handle the political, economic and social crisis that's actually currently taking place in Sri Lanka right now. My first question will go to Sivani, actually, and my question is on brain drain. Now, it's a phenomenon that we see a lot in every industry, right? A lot of people leave, they say they're leaving for the degree and then they stay there. And while it's great individually, sometimes it's not always the best thing for the country. What is your opinion on it?
So it's a sensitive topic where it can go in both ways, but I'll try my best to say my opinion. So first of all, this brain drain thing is happening because I feel like it's mostly because there are less opportunities here rather than them go finding like better things in life. It's more about less opportunities here. So I feel like as an individual, if they have to do it, and in their youth, they have to explore their option as well. We are not someone to tell, like, it's not a good thing. And also brain drain is not a complete bad thing. There are good things that's happening in from that as well, right? I feel like more than focusing on that, if we are to reduce this phenomenon happening, I feel like we should like encourage them to stay here by actually giving them the opportunity to stay here. So in my perspective, in a medicine career with the current status, after my 5.5 year degree, I have to wait 2 more years just to get my internship in my batch. So that's like 8 years in total of my youth for nothing, because we are not earning until we are like, after that, and we can't even practice after a degree without the license. So in that sort of a scenario, I feel like we are sort of stuck. So I feel like if no one is willing to leave the country, leave in the like people they love and all, and also as a state funded like university, we have the ethical right to serve the country back, to serve the people who did like funded our education. So it's not that we lack the ethics, but it's the circumstances that made us do it, I feel like.
And so now, for the people that want to stay here and maybe fix the economy, because there are a lot of ambitious youth who want to actually get us out of, this whole problem. And I'm sure all of us are trying to play a part in it as well. How would you say maybe the government can obviously incentivize them to stay, but how can the youth themselves, maybe by entrepreneurship, maybe how can they contribute to it?
So in I think in my case, when it comes to medicine, actually there's not much I feel like we can do, because we can't practice anything without the license.
Yeah, but maybe in a broad
So in a
sense,
broad aspect, I feel like if there are this is a like resourceful country, and there are a lot of opportunities which we haven't even seeked for. So if the youth is willing to take the leadership and create opportunities, I feel like it will reduce the people leaving the country and tend to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one will like willingly go if the life here is better, right?
Yeah.
So if the life is good here, I don't think that would be an issue.
And taking off from that question, I want to pose the next question to Anna, and maybe introduce yourself so we can get an idea of who you are as well before we answer the question. But what I want to ask you, since Siluni talked a bit about finding the right opportunities, because there are a lot of unexplored concepts here in Sri Lanka as well, right? A lot of people do a lot of degrees, I feel like, in current status quo. Not to diminish the value of it, but there are sometimes that people do degrees that don't really get them anywhere in the job market. So is it about quality over quantity, or like how do they navigate through that?
So first of all, I'm Anna Kasim. I'm a third-year undergraduate at the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo. And in response to your question, my philosophy has always been that people educating themselves can never be a bad thing. But there is certainly an issue of sometimes people have degrees and they might not be able to find a job that they feel is fulfilling or beneficial to them economically. And I think what I've grown up with in terms of my family and the values I have is that as long as you're learning something in your degree that you feel is an actual skill, or is something that is training you to think a particular way, that's always going to be relevant. Because I do law, I feel like I don't have this pressure as intensely because my degree is directly relevant to my career. But I feel like in any degree, as long as you prioritize something that trains you in a way that the average person may not have naturally, or is giving you a set of skills or a way of thinking or a unique ability, that's always going to be valuable and it's always going to be transferable. I think the issue is when people may not prioritize that when picking their degrees. And I will also say that, especially for people with law degrees, even if you have a traditionally or a degree that's seen as traditionally valuable, it's still hard to find a job if you don't have those skills that your degree is supposed to inculcate you with. So if you spend 4 years and you leave university without an understanding of the law, and I'm sure it's similar across all these faculties, if you get a job and you don't actually have the skills to follow through, it's going to be very difficult, especially when so many people now, as you said, have access to the same degrees and it's highly competitive. life. So I think the most important thing is ensuring that you're selecting a degree where you either get a unique set of skills or a valuable set of skills, or you have a degree that is training you to think in a way that you wouldn't ordinarily have. And if you have that degree, then just fully utilize it, because I think people take it for granted that if you just do a degree, you'll have the skills at the end of the 3 or 4 years. And sometimes it's the case, but sometimes it's not. And I think if you're being job ready, or you're looking towards having a career that is not just financially rewarding but fulfilling, I think these 3 to 4 years in our lives are probably the most important.
Thank you so much for that answer, and I think that really brought up a lot of more concepts as well that I actually want to hand over to Menuka. The question is now, since you said we have a lot of the job market, you brought it up, and how even if you have a degree that's directly sometimes linked to what you want to do, you still struggle. And the job market is ever evolving. Certain jobs are completely disappearing, and certain jobs are being born out of thin air. Sometimes really the change is not even organic anymore. How should the youth rather navigate through this? I mean, now should they maybe take a simplistic approach, maybe start at a very traditional job that everybody does, or should they go out there and explode, maybe have entrepreneurship on their card? What do you think?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So I would say, I would like to answer it like this. So I feel like it's better to take the risk, rather than sticking to the traditional method that we have been following, throughout so many years. I feel like it's time to take this big change as the youth, and then go out there and explore the opportunities that are available. And at the same time, this taking risk is sometimes there can be up and downs, but at the end of the day, you're going to learn something from that. And rather than sticking to the traditional job opportunities that they are, it's better if you can create a market for something new, through the exposure you get from your degrees, just like Anna mentioned, the skills that you are developing, it's time to test them out there and then see the opportunities that we can create within the country as a youth, where it would allow to develop the economy and also expand the areas. For an example, if I'm to talk about my field, international relations, so sometimes there can be problems about what are the areas, is it only limited to diplomacy and foreign ministry and whatnot, but beyond that, if we are to focus about how to deal as a country, in terms of diplomatic sense, it's not only about the political diplomacy, I would say, rather than how we can promote the culture, the cultural aspect. As Sri Lanka is I feel like we have yet to explore that avenue. So similarly, I feel in other areas as well, if we are to explore the unexplored avenues, that would be a great opportunity for Sri Lanka in future, in this journey to a developed country.
Thank you so much for that answer. Sasanka, now my next question is to you. Now, say, this may be a bit controversial, we don't know, but the question is, which industry do you think is currently performing? Now, there are new industries that are sort of taking over, for example, data science is a very, not only financially rewarding, but also in terms of opportunities here in Sri Lanka, it's evolved a lot, right? What are some industries that maybe the youth can look into? Do you have any idea about what do you think really works now in current status quo?
Okay, so thank you for that question. I think I'll take this as my experience. I was following an international relations degree, but now I'm working as a ground staff at aviation industry. So 2 different things. And at the end of my career, some people said that, why are you following that path? You did a whole lot of things here in Colombo for 4 years, but you are now doing here in some ground staff thing. Completely different things. You are not valuing your degree. So much opinions. But the thing is, for your question, what industry matters the most is if the worker is very peaceful, if the worker's mindset is very peaceful, and if he or she really passionate about that industry to work with, the industry will grow drastically. So my point is, we can't pressure someone to do this thing after you are completing your degree, like without their consent. What I meant was, if you truly passionate about totally different industry relative to your degree, you can choose that one. So the point is that, so there's no, according to my opinion, there's no that industry to mention that this is the most valuable one and this is the least valuable one. I think totally all the industries are very important to the country. So yeah, I think you can choose whatever you want according to your passions and all the things. I think.
And now, since we touched upon, I actually want to direct this question to Janet. Since we spoke a bit about how, the opportunities that we can find sometimes in Sri Lanka pertaining to certain fields are very low. Yeah, there are opportunities in certain fields that we haven't explored, but there are a lot of fields that we want to have in Sri Lanka, but unfortunately we can't. What are some, maybe apart from the government obviously incentivizing and maybe making provisions for these opportunities, what are some other maybe government institutions, if you know, or like what are some other institutions, and how can these other major institutions help to maybe make space for the youth here?
Yeah, so I am studying management, and management is a very broad topic. There's many fields: econ, international business, finance, accounting, or anything. And each field has certain jobs, each field has certain employment opportunities and all that. And again, like, we don't stick to our field when it comes to work. Like, you try out new things. Like, a person studying international business would want to try out a job in finance as well. And also, the government, I think they're doing a really good job with funding state unis and all that, because they're giving opportunity for a lot of people. And that's what we're getting
That's
here.
a step in the right direction.
Exactly, yeah.
But what else can maybe other, like maybe private institutions, what else can they do?
Yeah, I think it's just now about offering more opportunity, or basically evolving with the evolution of technology and everything. For example, artificial intelligence, that's something that's new to us, but it's going to be something that we are going to have to live with. And I think offering students a chance to learn it, learn how to use it in the right way, learn how to add that to their lives, is something important as well. So maybe just evolving with technology, evolving with the world, and making sure our education system evolves as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like how we can maybe make space for the youth and make sure that they're incentivized to stay here, and that they don't have to make the hard choice of, oh, do I stay here and not do what I love, or do I then go abroad and do what I love and make money with it as well. But we have to head into a short commercial break. You're watching Gen XYZ on Other Derana News Channel. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to Gen XYZ. Once again, we're at the College House of the University of Colombo, and we're joined with university students from different faculties. We have Faculty of Law, we have the Faculty of Management, and much more as well. My first question goes to Anna. Now, as you mentioned, we have almost a lot of actually the faculties present here in the panel, but a constant, sort of thing that we see in our degrees is that the ratio of girls doing degrees versus boys doing degrees. Now, in the law faculty, there are a lot of girls doing the law degree, but as opposed to boys. Why do you think this is? And do you have anything that you can say maybe to fix that ratio?
These are, of course, just my observations, but speaking from my experience, I know at law there's way more women than men. I'm sure it's the same at arts and a few of these other faculties. And I think that reflects attitudes and what people think certain genders should do. And I think certain degrees are seen as a bit more feminine for whatever reason, and women are more interested in pursuing them than men, which I think as we progress, that is probably changing, and it should, because even though in my batch there's about 10 to 20 men, I'm sure if you go to medicine the ratio is much better or not as much of a problem, and definitely in engineering I think the ratio is probably inverse.
Yeah.
So I think that says something about how people perceive certain degrees and perceive certain jobs, and what jobs are seen as more appropriate for men versus women. But in general, what I see is that there's a lot of women studying at University of Colombo, and I think you'll see that it's not at all a bad ratio, and that there's so many women across so many different degrees who are benefiting from a free tertiary education. But I think the issue comes in when you compare the amount of women in university to the amount of women to men in the actual job market. And I think that's where you see a huge discrepancy. I think that's largely because women are typically expected to take a step back when it comes to family life, and they sacrifice a lot when it comes to their careers and their promotions. And part of that has to do with what they think is best, but a lot of that also has to do with societal attitudes and what they've internalized. So I think fixing that discrepancy would be a huge step in the right direction, because that means that a lot of us who benefit from going to or having a free degree or going to a state university might not see the full potential of that translated. And I think naturally, as we as a society progress, those attitudes are changing. But I also do think it's important, even at a university level, to encourage women to do as much as they can with their degree, and to encourage them to feel that it is possible to do everything they want and still climb up every rung of the ladder when it comes to their personal and professional development. And I think that last bit is probably lacking, and that's why the overwhelming societal attitudes of who should stay back and look after the children, who should forego a promotion, who should take leave, why all of that disproportionately falls on women.
Yeah, and that's I think something that we all see, right? In the job market, we don't see a lot of women taking, and a lot of people attribute that to the fact that maybe women aren't as demanding as men are in certain fields. But I want to talk a bit about why maybe a lot of men don't go into university education itself. A lot of people sometimes just don't take up the degree even if they are qualified. They just forego that and maybe straight away start like a business, something like that. Is that one of the reasons that there's a discrepancy in the ratio at university, or do you have any other reasons as to why that's happening?
Well, I can't speak to the actual statistics on this, but I feel like if that is the case, I think that men have kind of grown up being encouraged to try and take risks. And I feel like that sort of language and that encouragement, women don't have as much. Because as a woman, you might be asked to have a more safer career route, something a bit more traditional, whereas it's more geared towards men to suggest that you can take risks, you can start a business. And these things happen when you're really young. It starts from school itself. And I think that's the point where you have to try and fix attitudes, because even doing it at university level might be a bit counterproductive because you've spent years believing a certain other type of way. So I do think it's true to some extent that women might be less demanding, but I also think that's a learned behavior, and we've encouraged men to be demanding, we've encouraged men to take risks, and we've encouraged them to feel like they can truly do anything with their education and degree, and maybe a bit less for women. So I think that change needs to happen at like a primary level. I mean, it's still worthwhile at university to encourage women to feel like they can do anything, but I feel like it should happen much younger as well.
Thank you for that answer. And now moving to Menuka, I want to talk a bit about now, since obviously the education system, sometimes with relation to the job market, sometimes it doesn't really open a lot of doors, right? So then how can maybe the government fix that system, and how can maybe universities also take that up and sort of follow that trend and maybe make more opportunities in the sense of education system? Not necessarily the job market, but like how can the education system expand to maybe, now for example, back in the day only a few degrees existed. Now there are more faculties that are being, sort of instituted. So what else can maybe the education system, how can they?
Yeah, to answer that, in addition to the involvement, the type of degrees and faculties that are there, in addition to that, I think there's a big issue in terms of like navigating the industry. Like after acquiring the knowledge through the degree, once you go to the industry, sometimes there can be a small like lacuna or kind of like a loophole where we feel like I have the theoretical knowledge, but how I am to practice it in practical sense. So there can be such issues. So I feel like it would be better, like there are certain initiatives taken by the government universities and also the government in terms of like encouraging students to take part in internships during their degrees, and also like encouraging, like sometimes even finding them internship opportunities by the university itself. So it would be better if they can expand it more and kind of like encourage it as like a must for the students, where like they would give credit for like exchanging it. Like for an example, in some degrees actually they don't like necessarily give credit or like necessarily like force them to do the internships, but I feel like it should be kind of important so that the students like would go to the industry and get the exposure and try to navigate what are the issues with me, what are the lackings that I have to like solve myself, so that I would be able to like properly face these such challenges in future. So I feel like that's there. In addition to that, actually encouraging people to take different paths rather than sticking to rather than like most of the like from my experience being an arts major in the arts faculty actually, so people like kind of like targeting for the government opportunities, like just after finishing their degree they are planning to get a stable job in the government with pension and whatnot, rather than like having letting them out go with such mindset. It would be better if the universities could encourage them to explore other options that are available. That would be like really beneficial. I feel like it would be kind of like limit the criticism that usually the general public have towards the arts degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually talking a bit about criticism now, a lot of the youth, it's the Gen Z sort of thing to sometimes not be able to handle criticism too well. Sometimes we don't like it. But I actually want to direct this question to Siluni. And what are some things that you see the youth, maybe yourself, maybe our friends even, what do you see us do wrong? How can we fix it in very short?
So when it comes to criticism, I think there's good and bad both in it, and it depends on how you take it on, I think, and how you handle it. So if I do something and the point of view of someone else is about it is different, it would be criticism, right? But I think as youth, I think we should be more open-minded and we should be welcoming the criticism that's towards us and use that as a learning experience to build ourselves. I feel like...
what are some errors you see the youth doing right now? Like whether it's the education, like degree they're pursuing, whether it's their mindset.
I feel like we are a little bit not that patient, and
like
we
Janet
want...
said,
I think we are in a hurry to win. But I feel like it's more of sort of a journey rather than the final, the destination. Along this long process, there will be ups and downs, and I think you have to be more patient with what you're getting in life and be ready for the process rather than aiming for one thing.
And I want to then direct the next question to Sasanka. Now, since Siluni expanded on the common mistake that we all, I think, make. Sometimes we're not patient. Sometimes we fail to see the bigger picture because of it. What are some steps that the youth can take to make sure maybe we achieve success? Like maybe whether it's discipline, whether like she said, patience. What else can the youth do to make sure not only in educational aspects, but also later on in life with family, with jobs, what can they do that can really push them in the right direction?
I think nowadays in present, all the people are very brainy and they have this relevant subject knowledge and all the things, but the problem is with their mindsets, attitudes and all the things. So I think making up their mindset, attitudes, and what Celine said was patience. And basic thing is don't rush yourself, don't rush the life, and take it slow, just go with the flow. Those things are very necessary. Even if you have the even if you are the smartest person in the room, if you don't have those attitudes and mindsets, I think it will be very difficult to live your life very calmly and very patiently in the future. Even it will be very difficult to like maintain a family also. So we are one day we will maintaining a family. So the point is it's all about making up your mindsets, attitudes, and balancing your life, balancing your stuffs with the time and all the things. I think that should be very beneficial for in the life.
And so basically, like Siluni also said, then focusing more on the journey, because it can give and a lot of people sometimes say, a degree, it's going to take up so much time, might as well do a job during that time. But there are a lot of things that we have actually accumulated through not only our degree, but also our university life, meeting new people from different places, understanding their perspectives. We're gonna carry that into whatever else we do in life as well, right? So that's something that I think we need to appreciate. And my final question goes to Janit on how the advice maybe we can all contribute to that question as well, but any advice that you would personally give the youth? Maybe it doesn't have to be a university student, it can be someone that's just done with A-levels, trying to get into university, trying to start a job, just a student, or maybe someone who has been in a job for a while, maybe not even the youth. What is your advice?
Yes, so let me answer your question by starting with consistency beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So hard work is everything, and I'm sure all of us know, regardless of what we do, whether it's academics or extracurriculars or anything, put in the work, put in the hours, make sure you do it even if you don't feel like doing it. Just being consistent with doing the exact same thing daily. For example, practice. Even if you don't see improvement, you still go on until you get to a certain point where you feel like you're good at it. And when it comes to studies, also the same thing. You keep on studying until you face the exam. So putting in the hard work, I feel like that's a really big thing. And second thing is perspective. As soon as something bad happens, or if there's a setback, if we think, okay, this is going to drag me down or something like that, then we're going to go a few steps back. But as soon as we change our perspective, and as soon as something bad happens, if you try to see the positive in it, that's something that would benefit us as well. And finally, and most importantly in my perspective, is enjoying what you do. Because we do everything for happiness end of the day. And if we have happiness in the process itself, in the journey itself, then you're already halfway there. Just enjoy what you do and live life in the best way possible and love what you do. That's the best advice I can give.
Does anyone else have any other perspectives, or do you all think Janet did justice into answering that question? Do you all disagree with anything he said? No. Okay. And I think that's also very true. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter sometimes how much a job pays, right? At the end of the day, what's really rewarding is coming back home and being able to be satisfied with what you did, right? So sometimes some people leave like high-paying jobs to maybe jobs that aren't even paying that well, purely because that's what they love to do. So I think the overall message here is that, yeah, it's difficult, right? But it's difficult everywhere in like different ways. It's all about figuring out who you are as a person, first of all, and also then doing what you love, making sure you obviously look at the realistic approach to it as well. But thank you so much, all of you, for being a part of the show. It has been great to get perspectives from different faculties and from seniors as well. And I'm sure as seniors, you all have guided. I mean, if there are people from your own faculties who are watching this show, I'm pretty sure they actually got a lot of insight from you guys today. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And this is it for Gen XYZ. We'll see you next week, same time, same place on Other Derana News Channel. Till then, stay tuned.